representatives of employers, and eminent academicians who are joining us, and my dear colleague and Honorable Minister of Labour, T.P. Ramakrishnan, and dear friends. Gulati Institute of Finance and Taxation is named after Professor I.S. Gulati, who was formerly the Vice Chairman of the Kerala State Planning Board and one of the founding members of Center for Development Studies. He was one of the founding members, along with Professor Vaidyanathan and Krishnan, who all came together to Kerala on the call of Dr. K. N. Raj and set up one of the most rewarding institutions, noted for its empirical research with informed theory. Many of the colleagues and students, and some of us present here, some majority of us present here, have been formally associated with Center for Development Studies. And one of the founding members, Professor Vaidyanathan, passed away the other day. And I want to begin this webinar paying homage to his memories. Friends, coming to the main purpose of our webinar is mainly to reflect and deliberate on some of the recent developments affecting the lives and livelihoods of working poor in India. Literally, under the cover of darkness, using COVID pandemic as a convenient excuse, many states in India are demolishing the entire edifice of labor regulations in the country. They have opted for ordinances to circumvent the parliamentary legislative process already in its final stages. For this purpose, we have brought together very eminent people. In fact, senior most leaders of the trade unions in India. I'm very happy they have all agreed to come for this opening session and the concluding session in the evening. We have also representatives of the employers, major employers organizations in India, as well as Kerala. And then we have a galaxy of the best academic minds who have put their effort in understanding the employment, labor rights, and so on. I welcome you all. I started off. Welcome will come. I just started off. Let me then complete it. But I want to particularly welcome Professor Amit Bhaduri, who will be joining us later. He is the senior most academician participating in this webinar. And I fondly recall how in 1978, he gave a series of lectures. We students, I was a student at Center for Development Studies, doing my MPhil, and fantastic lectures on macroeconomic theory. And I want to acknowledge how 30 years later, I used my class notes. The box diagram on extended and simple reproduction that he put on the board in the book of mine, which was writing. There was the minister there, and work capitalist crisis had come. So, introduction to my volume, I had this his box diagrams put on. Of course, I didn't ask for the permission, but I think from the bounty of teachers, every student has the right to draw as much as possible. Well, there are other colleagues of mine and so on, but I don't want to name every one of them. Well, now what is the provocation for this illegal and undemocratic actions being taken by some of the state governments? It's a pandemic. The pandemic is going to affect the way we live, not only today, tomorrow also. Even if a vaccine is found, the world will never be the same again, because this has opened our eyes to the danger that exists, lurks behind the unknown. Anytime any virus may come, and then the world has got future work will have to adjust to this threat. And therefore, this action seems to take alibi and the need of certain changes in the labor practices or in the immediate context of the pandemic. The immediate provocation is mass exodus of migrant laborers to the homeland. Now, it's a great tragedy that is still unfolding in front of us. That has very sharply brought the nation's attention to the pathetic state of affairs of the informal sector in India. Now, it has very different impact upon the labor receiving states and also the labor sending states. Now, very interesting feature of the present deregulation has been that both sets of states are using the same event to undermine the labor regulations. Now, for the labor receiving states, let's say like Gujarat and so on, now the exodus, there's a labor scarcity taking place in industrial centers such as Surat and so on, or Ludhiana, everywhere. Now, certainly this has to be responded to. There are two ways of responding to it. One, you can change the technology, you can change the work process, upgrade the technology. That's the response that is taking place in other developed countries and even in China. Automation and so on. Social distancing with the factory, changing the factory layout and so on. Now there is a second response possible. That is to say, there is scarcity. Therefore, longer working hours, greater workload, and perhaps even less lower wages. Now, Marx, I wish to link it to the whole conceptualization of Marx regarding the absolute exploitation and relative exploitation. And now there's a broad framework which allows us to understand these responses. That you have on the one side, it is possible to have changes in technology and increase in the productivity. And of course, then there will be response from the labor movement asking for not longer working hours, but shorter working hours, which is a demand in the whole developed countries, which is the way humanity is going to progress. Otherwise, you can go to the pre-factory stage when labor loss matrices and so on, thinking more people can be accommodated. Now go to the side of the labor sending states like UP and so on. Now they are receiving the surplus. Now they are receiving the migrant workers back. Now they have to be, say, accommodated within the domestic economy. And therefore, I think shorter working hours would be their response. But they are also increasing the working hours, deregulating the labor market, saying that such a deregulation will remove the restraints for labor absorption and allow greater employment, facilitate greater employment. Now, instead of looking for a more humane way of reskilling them, creating employment opportunities in the countryside and so on, you're taking to undermining even the limited labor laws that do exist. The informal sector, anyway, there is no labor law, thinking that employment there is going to increase. And this is a great tragedy that is taking place. So, but I am very aghast at the way this Inauguraion has hailed it as the CEO words. This is the greatest moment in the history of 1991, even greater than 1991, scrapping all the labor laws. Because I think they have under the kind of new breed of real patriotic leaders who fantasize that India in the post-pandemic world will be flushed with capital, technology, and jobs if only we can demolish the labor regulations and make ourselves into lawless society. Well, it's strange. So it is in this context that we have decided to organize this webinar. The Labor Minister is here. I shall not go into the approach that Kerala is adopting to the labor laws. I only want to say something. We in Kerala think the labor laws, the organized working class, are the greatest legacy of Kerala. Now, differences in political perspective and so on will continue to remain even with the labor movement, but we are all confirmed, united in this belief. Now, Kerala has recently been noted for its very humane response to the pandemic and successful response to the pandemic. And it has roots in the labor laws, I would say, labor movement, I would say. It is the redistributive strategy of Kerala. One, the powerful trade union movement ensured through ways which Labor Minister in his inaugural address is going to detail, much higher wages in Kerala, wages, which is a form of income redistribution. We had our land reforms, which is a form of redistribution of assets. And then you have these powerful movements, trade unions and peasant movements and the social movements in the past, who forced the governments to undertake social security measures and so on. And therefore, we want to take forward this heritage. We don't say there's nothing to change. There are certain unhealthy practices and so on, industrial practices, which had their logic in the past, but has no logic today in Kerala, which we would like to reform, but we want to take forward this heritage. So that's the context why Kerala has taken this initiative to have this webinar. And I think we have the best people to speak about it. So to conclude, what do we intend to gain from this? One, the employers, the employees, and the scholars are all. We are bringing all the people together to have an exchange of ideas, to have a deeper understanding. This is the democratic way of regulating or deregulating it, not through ordinances. Where a consensus, right or wrong, existed before you change it, have discussions, deliberations. So it is in that spirit that this webinar is being organized. One. Two, I am certain that this webinar is going to draw attention to many aspects which that has not received so much attention, the public debates and so on. If you look at the contributions of the scholars who are attending here, as well as the nature of the trade union leaders here, I'm sure you will understand the informal sector will receive a lot of attention. The women workers are going to greater attention. So this will deepen our understanding. And finally, we in Kerala are in the process of preparing for the post-pandemic world. We want Kerala to be much more prosperous and resilient when we are out of pandemic. And we are preparing for that. And in this post-pandemic world, of course, we are thinking every sector, how we should reform, how we should go forward. And definitely we shall learn from the presentations here. So these are my presidential remarks. Unfortunately, we didn't go into formal welcome, but Joseph Director will speak after the inauguration. No, after the it's okay. TP, you read. Joseph is Joseph. Joseph will not formally welcome. He'll introduce the speakers and so on. Yeah. Okay. So now, T.P. Ramakrishnan, the Labour Minister of Kerala, will formally inaugurate the webinar.
Honorable Minister of Finance, Government of Kerala, esteemed leaders of the National Trade Unions and Employers Organization of India, directors, Gulati Institute, distinguished scholars of the academic community, and all dignitaries and specialists taking part in this webinar. First, I wish to compliment the Gulati Institute of Finance and Taxation, Thiruvananthapuram, under the guidance of my esteemed colleague, Dr. Thomas Isaac, Chairman of the Board of Directors of GIFT, for this initiative to organize a webinar on labor regulations in India. It is a topic with exceptional importance because several Indian states are planning to change the content of labor laws that prevailed in post-independent India. These states want to dilute or even do away with existing labor laws. They have effectively suspended the implementation of many acts. When the ruling party at the national level is loudly proclaiming one nation, one ID card, and one ration card, the same party and its allies are moving away from universal labor laws towards different state level rules. I would like to bring your attention on the labor law amendment proposal initiated from the part of central government. The decision of the central government in framing 4 codes by integrating all the existing labor laws was intended only for refusing the rights and social security of workers, which were achieved by the labor community after long agitation and struggles. As such, the labor laws of India always stood to protect the lives and livelihoods of workers. Contrary to this, the central government have now framed 4 codes by integrating 29 labor laws and also by eliminating 12 labor laws. The codes on wages, industrial relations, social security, and occupational safety, health and working conditions are totally against in safeguarding the rights of workers. The main agenda in Code on Wages is to abolish the right of 8 hours work. Also, the fixation of bonus will be limited to enterprises where there are only 20 or more workers. This will be a heavy blow to millions of workers of the country. The right of state government in taking decisions on fixation of bonus is also seen eliminated. This meeting aims to discuss the implications of changes in the content of labor laws in India and the possibility of a common approach to the implementation of labor laws. This meeting will also allow us to discuss the consequences of changing the labor regulations of India, analyze their impact on workers, skilled and unskilled, formal and informal, in the many regional labor markets of the country. We have the benefit of listening to the leaders of major trade unions and employers organizations of India and distinguished academic scholars in India. Their assessments and analytical inputs will help us develop a strategic approach towards dealing with the problems and challenges in the world of work. As I look forward to listening to the valuable contributions of this meeting, let me also clarify the position of the government of Kerala on the changes proposed in the content of labor laws. We oppose such changes in letter and spirit. We have taken this position after careful considerations, taking into account the historically blessed place of labor laws in India and Kerala. We consider them as our precious inheritance from the freedom movement of India, which received massive support from the industrial working class and their trade unions. The components of labor laws that we adopted reflected a binding political consensus on the inclusive society based on equality of opportunity and outcome. This foundational principle is now being called into question as India tries for integration with the global economy through dangerously liberal economic and trade policies. There is a carefully arranged approach to bring about the desired result, that is to demolish the entire structure of workplace relations, whereas the structure and its architecture an integral part of the Indian Constitution. The government of Kerala believes that any attempt to weaken the constitutional foundation of India can only lead to disorder and anarchy in the labor sector. We do not intend to let it happen. We proudly acknowledge that the workers of Kerala have been beneficiaries of the constitutionally established principles and rights at work. We have always tried to protect and preserve these rights. We will keep doing the same in future too. Since 1957, Kerala has pursued its purpose, respecting, protecting, and realizing the rights and entitlements of working class. The state has managed the governance of labor markets through the cooperation of a tripartite community, including trade unions and employers. Such partnership has helped the state to make crucial decisions on all matters related to employment, wages, and industrial relations. Labor in Kerala has been politically organized into trade unions since the 1920s, acquiring both numerical strength and mobilizing capacity. The unions have been a driving force of change in the state. A pro-labor approach of major political parties has influenced the empowerment of labor in agriculture, manufacturing, and service sectors of the economy. The state has a history of encouraging the supervisory and regulatory institutions that promoted cordial industrial relations. Years after independence saw the nurturing of three prestigious institutions: the industrial relations committees, the minimum wage advisory boards, the welfare fund boards are there to protect the wages, working conditions, and welfare interests of all workers in the state. The three institutions, the industrial relations committees, the minimum wages advisory committees, and the welfare fund boards have created a common platform to bring together all the stakeholders of Kerala economy, the self-employed, the paid workers, and the employers, and engage them to constructive solutions to the problems and concerns in any workplace. One of the earliest industrial relations committees ever established in India was the IRC for coir workers of Alleppey in Kerala, which came into being in 1940 through collaboration of the Travancore Chamber of Commerce and the Coir Factory Workers Union of Alleppey. Over the years, the IRCs of Kerala made it possible to improve the climate of industrial relations as reflected in decline of industrial disputes. Under the minimum wage advisory boards, there are 82 categories of employment in Kerala, and the state government set minimum wages notification for these categories. As a result, there is some uniformity in wages visible across different industrial sectors and regions of Kerala. The welfare fund boards are the third pillar of our labor institutions in Kerala. They are highly acclaimed structures which safeguard the welfare interest of all workers in numerous occupations of the middle and lower layers of markets. In certain sectors of Kerala, there was a practice of demanding wages without doing any work. Government had viewed it very seriously and abolished this bad practice and made this punishable under the court of law. Historical changes were brought in Kerala Shops and Commercial Establishment Act by including the right to sit during work. This was a relief to lakhs of workers, especially to women workers in textile and commercial establishments. Notifications were issued on extending the Maternity Benefit Act to the private and unaided education institutions, which is another achievement for the working women. The wage rates paid at the lower end of markets, both in the farm and non-farm sectors, are more than twice the all India average. It is an important reason why Kerala has been a magnet attracting large numbers of guest workers from all over India. As we all know, the guest workers have an important role in the labor sector in nowadays. The major milestone in the history of labor sector in Kerala is the policy initiated and implemented by the present LDF government for the welfare of guest workers from within the country engaged in various sectors in the state. Kerala is the only state in the country which has implemented special free health package scheme, namely Awas, and residential flat scheme, namely Apnagar, for guest workers. This has been appreciated and lauded by trade unions and medias in the global level. 4,34,000 guest workers have been put in safe camps all over the state and provided them with food and amenities during the COVID breakdown. The state government have set up 22,000 camps, and the labor department officials have been deployed to monitor these camps and they provide them with all amenities with the help of local self-government and district administration. Around 2,25,000 workers have returned to their native states. Those who have left and after reaching their native states have opined that they wanted to come back to Kerala. We have not let anyone to suffer. I do hope that when the pandemic is over, Kerala will continue to attract more guest workers and thus contribute to raising the wage rates in all the migrants sending states. In this context, I would like to share that the labor welfare measures taken from the part of Kerala in the event of COVID-19 has resulted in bringing in confidence on workers and their families. An amount about around rupees 1,000 crores have been disbursed to the workers through various labor welfare boards during COVID lockdown period. In addition to this, an amount of rupees 1,000 each has also been given to workers, those who have not registered with any of the welfare fund boards. The expenditure on health, education, and housing has conferred many benefits on the entire society, which led to better wages, excellent benefits from work, and improved living standards. We are proud of these accomplishments. We stand by them and would always testify in their support. We have no intention to let them decline, neither in Kerala nor in other states. We want to improve their content and reach so that the regulations will remain as a beacon of hope and light for all workers. The government of Kerala will always be in the forefront campaigning for the preservation and improvement of the labor regulations in India. Let me thank you all for giving me this opportunity to address this webinar. I wish you all very fruitful deliberations. I wish you all very fruitful deliberations. With your permission, I declare this webinar open. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Professor Joseph, Director of Gujarat Institute of Finance and Taxation, will formally introduce the participants.
Honorable Minister of Finance and Choir, Dr. T.M. Thomas Isaac. Honorable Minister of Labour, Skills and Excise, Sri T.P. Ramakrishnan. Leaders of national trade unions, representatives of employers associations, eminent scholars of labor studies, my colleagues and students, friends, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to have a very different style of organizing the conference. Normally, we should have the welcome to begin with. We in Kerala do things differently. That's what we are showing here. So I have the pleasant duty here of welcoming you and as well as thanking all of you in this important event. And this is actually the third of the webinars that GIFT is organizing. The first one was after the lockdown. The first one was dealing with COVID and fiscal federalism. Second one was that dealt with COVID and local governments. And this particular one, it is unique in many respects, but I would like to highlight only 2 points. The first one, this is the brainchild of 2 unique individuals. The first one is a person, I'm referring to my chairman and the Honorable Finance Minister, who happened to do his PhD on the labor struggles in coir industry, and he is today the Minister of Coir. This is a rarest of rare accomplishment that any scholar could think of. And we have another person, none other than my former director, Dr. A.V. Jose, who had his long innings in the ILO, and all my colleagues who are now logged in are very much aware of how Dr. Jose is committed to the cause of labor. And today we have 2 individuals. Actually, this webinar is conceived by these 2 individuals. And as all of you are aware, the hard work was done by Dr. A.V. Jose. In fact, I have today the distinction of free riding as a director. I must say that as a professor, you have to do hard work. As director, you can do free riding on others' work. In fact, I must appreciate the hard work invested by Dr. Jose in organizing this seminar. All of you have received very detailed and meticulously drafted letters and phone calls, which he has been, and without his hard work, this conference, this webinar could not have been organized. So I have the pleasure. I must say that it is I'm really a privilege to welcome you to GIFT and for this webinar particularly because I think this is an issue of much, as already talked about by Dr. Thomas Isaac and the eminent inaugural lecture by our Labour Minister. This is an issue of immense relevance for policy and on the lives and livelihoods of the people. In fact, I'm reminded of the thinking by three eminent economists. To begin with, Professor Amartya Sen, he said, for most humanity, what they have at their disposal to dispose of is their labor power. To that extent, anyone's entitlements quintessentially depend upon the price at which she can sell her labor power and the terms under which she can sell it. But however, we are aware that with the benign objective of increasing industrial output, employment in the country, we have been diluting our labor laws with the pretext that only through flexible labor market you can increase employment. My dear friends, I'm aware that in my own research, I've seen that during the globalization period, for example, since 1996, the share of labor in value added has been steadily declining. And during this period, last 21 years, India's share in the global manufacturing value added actually could not double, whereas in the previous 15 years, the share has almost more than doubled. And secondly, we have a statement from none other than Michael Kalesky saying that workers consume what they get. So in a context like this, what actually is needed is you should be enabling the workers to consume more and pay more. Instead, we are going to have a situation with the labor laws, your entitlements, your wage bill is going to be lower, and which is going to have its adverse impact on what is called the aggregate demand. And third point is, as far as employers are concerned, what they are not concerned about is not the wage rate, but as Nicholas Calder says, it is the efficiency wage. So to that extent, we should be trying, as Dr. Isaacs rightly said, this is a period where you should be skilling your workforce. Instead of that, you are trying to deprive them of the entitlements that they have. And I would say that these are, in fact, based on wrong diagnostics and very less prescription. I'm very sure that you, all of you are assembled here in your different capacity as acclaimed academia, as committed trade union leaders, will be deliberating upon and coming up with solutions which are socially desirable and economically viable and fruitful for building a competent and prosperous India. And I am very happy that you are all, you agreed to our invitation, and with much affection and a lot of warmth, I would like to welcome you to this webinar. And I also take this occasion to thank T.B. Ramakrishnan. He won't be able to be here because for the last session because of other unexpected commitments. Thank you, sir, for joining us and for enlightening and setting the tone by your eminent inaugural address. And I thank all of you. And now this is time for the next session. And that session is going to be chaired by my former director, Professor D. Narayana, and wherein we expect the National Trade Union leaders to speak. Thank you very much. And you all have a wonderful day. And let us look forward to a very fruitful deliberation.